All right. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Awesome. All right. My name is Heather McBroom, and I am with Precision Services. We have decided to come up with a series of videos for our clients and friends to help kind of ease some of the anxiety and understanding regarding the current situation with the coronavirus. We understand that there's many outlets to get information. Sometimes it's really hard to kind of sift through that information and know what is actually required of us versus things that we're seeing. And things are changing constantly. So I wanted to come on and connect you guys with professionals in our community that I trust, that are doing a really good job with different aspects of keeping us informed about the ever changing situations regarding the coronavirus. So we're going to talk to several professionals today to talk about the different topics. So the first topic we're going to talk about has to do with human resources. And so I have a great friend, Reanna Werner. She is with HR Branches, amazing woman, amazing company. She's kind of been starting the forefront of keeping us informed about things that are going on as things are changing. She is Johnny on the spot with getting that information to us via email and blog and Facebook and a lot of the things that a lot of the outlets that my clients are using. Uh, Not to mention, she's amazing in what she does. The company that she's developed and helping small business with HR services is phenomenal. A lot of you already know her, and we're very excited that she decided that she would do this video with us. And a little secret, it is her birthday, so we'd like to first tell you happy birthday.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome, Rihanna. Thank you so much for your time today. I know we're all bogged down with trying to get situated and our time is limited and we have kids underfoot and everything else. So I appreciate it so much. If you could just start by giving a quick introduction to yourself and your company, and then we'll ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, well, gosh, you really gave me quite the introduction just there. I feel like my head's about to explode. So
Oh,
thank you for all those kind words. So, yes, everybody, my name is Reanna Werner. I am the founder and owner of HR Branches. HR Branches specializes in helping small businesses create the foundation to supporting their employment practices and making sure that their liability is minimized when it comes to their employment practices. And so with all of the recent activity, especially over the past week with COVID-19, this virus is just wreaking havoc not just on our medical society but now our economic society, and it's really driving it home for a lot of us small business owners. And so here at HR Branches, we're dedicated to staying on the front lines and helping all small businesses stay informed and help them make great decisions, at least the best decisions that they can during these difficult times.
we appreciate that. Me especially. It's been easy to follow. And like I said, you provide just the facts and the great information. So I don't have to dig through, numbers of Facebook pages and posts and articles and check if they're accurate and everything else. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the professionalism you bring to this um, the whole HR in general. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
you're welcome. So the
So
first
where do we
thing I wanna
start?
Yeah, right? So there's two main acts, I think they're called acts, maybe bills or something, that have recently come into play that are really important for small business owners to start with. So the first one, of course, was the Colorado Health Emergency Leave with Pay. And I would like for you, if you could, to give us some basic facts about that act and what does that mean for small businesses, and is this a temporary thing or a permanent thing?
Absolutely. So the Colorado Health Emergency Leave with Pay is a temporary rule that really requires employers in specific industries. And let's talk about those industries. It's leisure and hospitality, food services, childcare, education, and within education, that also means like school bus drivers and cafeteria workers, anybody who works in the education industry, home health care, especially if you're working with the elderly, the disabled, high-risk individuals, nursing homes, and community living facilities. So those are your primary industries that this act does, or rule actually, it impacts. And so what this rule says is that employers within these industries in the state of Colorado have to pay their employees for 4 calendar days as they are going through the COVID testing phase. So in order to qualify, employees must feel flu-like symptoms, and they have to currently and actively be seeking COVID testing. So here's a few things that you need to keep in mind about this. If your business does fall within these industries, it's 4 calendar days. So I want you to keep this in mind. If your employee is scheduled, we'll say Thursday, or their normal schedule is Monday through Friday, but they start feeling flu-like symptoms and report it to you on Thursday, you're responsible for paying them their wages on Thursday and Friday. They're not typically scheduled on Saturday and Sunday, so you don't have to pay them for those days. It's just scheduled days within that 4 calendar day period. So you do have to pay them their standard wage. This bill will last, it's temporary, it's in place for a minimum of 30 days, but it will last until the state of emergency is removed and we're out of that status as a state. So that's
Can I
the
ask you a
first.
question regarding that?
Yeah.
If I don't currently have a sick leave or sick pay plan with my company, am I still required to comply with that?
You are. You are. It does not matter if you have a sick leave policy in place. This is now officially a part of your sick leave policy. It has been enacted on your behalf.
Okay. And then the second, is there any compensation that you know of for me as an employer for these wages that I'm paying out? For a lot of our small businesses, we may not have the funds to continue to pay somebody. Is there any relief that you know of, or is that a better question for somebody else?
So here's the deal with this one act. This is the first act. There is no relief or funds that are offered to reimburse employers for these wages. However, the next bill that we're going to talk about, it actually was just enacted last night, does have a little bit of relief to help you guys out in its own way. And we can talk about that here in a second. But yes, for the Colorado specific act, there's nothing.
Now, what if I have a business that may fall into several categories of, maybe what I do is I have a retail store, but I have a coffee shop or a snack shop built into it. Am I still on the hook for this act? And does that apply then also to my bookstore or just to the side that serves the food and the drinks?
You nailed it. If you've got a cafe inside your bookstore, it impacts your whole business. Because of that one little mechanism within your business, it does impact you, and you have to apply this across the board to your whole business.
Thank you so much for clarifying that.
No
So
problem.
great segue into going to the next act that was actually passed last night, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Give us again some information, some facts regarding this act. I know it's new, and of course, things change constantly in Congress, so we may see some amendments to it. But for right now, what does it state that I need to be aware of as a small business employer?
This is a big one. So this is going to take a little bit of time to go through because there's two, as an employer, there's three major parts to this bill that are really going to impact you. So bear with me as I'm going through this, and feel free, Heather, anytime to stop me and ask clarifying questions. I want to make this as clear as possible to you guys. Now, I want to start off and say, I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be an attorney. I don't want to be an attorney. This is not considered legal advice. This is just an explanation to the best of my knowledge and abilities of what we're looking at and what's on the horizon and how this can impact small businesses. So please don't take this as legal advice. That's when we talk to lawyers. Okay, Family First Coronavirus Response Act. So let's talk about these three pieces that we need to consider. So first, we've got the emergency family medical leave expansion, and then we've got the sick leave provision, and then we also have the tax credit. So we're going to kind of take this and chew this up in smaller pieces. So first, let's talk about the emergency family medical leave expansion. This act and all of these acts, actually, this whole entire act will become effective 14 days from today. It was effective 15 days from the inception of the bill when Trump signed it into effect. So it will go into effect 14 days from now, and it will end December 31st, 2020. So this is not a long-term bill. This is not going to impact us forever, but it does impact us 14 days from now, and we do have to comply. So in the emergency family medical leave expansion component of this bill, it impacts employers with less than 500 employees. And it starts at one. If you have one employee, it impacts you, and you do have to comply. So eligible employees that have been with your company for 30 days or more are now eligible for this medical leave. And what will happen is employers are required to pay 2/3 of the employee's regular rate for up to 12 weeks. And this is to cover any broad range of COVID-related reasons. So this is a COVID diagnosis, this is testing, this is to care for children whose schools and daycare facilities are closed due to COVID. Anything related to COVID, pretty much, your employees will be covered underneath this. There is a 10-day leave or 10-day portion of this act that is unpaid leave. So the very first 10 days after your employee is out is unpaid time underneath this provision. And then after that 10 days is up, then you as an employer must pay 2/3 of their regular rate for up to 12 weeks. There are some caps to this expansion component. First is your full-time employees are capped at $200 a day or $10,000 total. So it does cap, but still, I mean, you do the math, you've got 10 employees and you're capped at $10,000, that's $100,000 you're looking at for paying wages and likely not seeing any productivity. So this is going to be tough to maneuver.
Question for you. Is there
Yeah.
anything written in there that says, hey, I as an employer have offered to let you work from home, set you up from home. You have declined to do so because you know that you'll be paid under this act anyway. Do I have any protection as an employer to say, kind of like disability, I've set you up to do your job still. You've chose not to, therefore you're not a part of this? Or have they addressed that at all?
There has not been any guidance. That's one of my first questions out there, and there is no guidance today. That'll likely change tomorrow or the day after. There's very little employer protection written into these bills, unfortunately, from what I'm seeing. So, and I mean, I think there's a lot of it depends scenario. For an example, you set your employee up to work from home, but they've been diagnosed with COVID, more than likely they're going to be pretty sick and they can't work. So it depends. But, I mean, if they can work from home and, they're just caring for their children who are out of school, they should be working, right?
Absolutely.
So the FMLA shouldn't really apply in that situation, but there's a lot of buts out there and we just have to wait for guidance from the feds on that one.
Fair enough.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the second component is the sick leave. So in addition to the FMLA, employers with 1 to 500 employees, again, are required to provide 80 hours of paid sick time at the employee's regular rate. So what this means is, in addition to the FMLA, keeping in mind that you're paying 2/3 of their wages after 10 days, you're also paying 80 hours of paid sick leave. And more than likely, we haven't received guidance and we're waiting on guidance. More than likely, this will kick in as soon as the employee goes out. It will cover, you'll be paying the sick leave during that unpaid period of FMLA. You'll be paying them at their regular rate for a total of 80 hours. Amounts are also capped at $511 per day, or a total of $5,110 total. So this is in addition to, it's not an either or, this is an and situation. Both of these components do apply to all small businesses with 500 or fewer employees, even if you just have one employee.
So another question for you. Obviously, the term employee has to be defined by several different people. I mean, we see it all the time in insurance. You know, people say, oh, I don't have employees, I have independent contractors, or they refer to them as 1099s. In this scenario, did this act at all give a definition of employee that you saw? Because what the state says is the guidelines for employee versus independent contractors, very different from what the IRS says. So whose guidelines should we be using, and should my business owners be concerned if they are classifying somebody as an independent contractor, and maybe even incorrectly from what the state or IRS says? Should they be worried about this act and making it apply to even people that they say are independent contractors?
I would play it safe. This applies to anybody you W-2. So
Okay.
if they're independent contractors, if they're 1099, according to your tax records and how you classify them according to your business records, is how you will want to treat them. 1099s will not apply to this legislation. It is only employees. So your W-2 employees who you pay payroll taxes on is who this applies to.
Thank you for that clarification. Does
That's a
this
great question.
also, thanks. Does this also only apply to those that are sick with the virus, or does this apply very similar to the other act where it's if they're affected in any way with kids out of school or anything like that?
Same story. It applies to all COVID related situations. So that is if their child's school is closed, if they're in quarantine, self quarantine, as long as it's directed by a doctor or even the employer, any symptoms, seeking medical diagnosis, anything related to COVID, they're covered underneath this as well.
Family members that may be sick at home that they're having to care for as
Yeah,
well?
absolutely. Yeah. D, all of the above.
Great. So one thing I would like to reiterate to my clients, especially, or anyone watching this, is make sure that your classification of your employee is correct, because this is just another way that somebody could potentially come after you and say, hey, you've misclassified me and you have denied me my right to something. Very often we don't see that you've misclassified someone until they have filed an unemployment claim, and unemployment has come out and said, no, you have classified them incorrectly. So if you are at all worried that some of the people you currently classify as independent contractors maybe should be classified differently, please reach out to the Colorado State. They do have a phone number you can call. They will actually do an assessment for you. I think there's a small fee. Maybe they're even waiving the fee now with everything going on, but I strongly urge you to make sure that your people are classified correctly, because this is just another avenue that you could potentially get fined and get in trouble.
Actually, the state of Colorado now has a free service to where if you have concerns about your classifications, they'll actually do an audit on you as a service to help you understand. They will look at your current situation and then make recommendations, and they'll waive any type of fines or fees because you are proactively going out there and seeking to correct any issues. So it's a great service provided by the Colorado Department of Labor. So definitely look into it. And I can send you that information to push out to your clients, Heather.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're looking, the last part of this bill is what they consider relief for the financial hardship that this will cause. And what is in the bill is that they are providing a 100% tax credit for any funds that are paid out underneath both of these provisions, the sick leave and the FMLA. So, but here's the deal. This will be on this year's tax return. So you're not going to see that tax credit until next year. So we're looking at, having to kind of hang in there for at least a year in order to see any financial relief. I have heard that Trump has mentioned in a press conference this morning that he is putting together a stimulus plan, and he's hoping to be able to pass, it has to be passed through Senate, to pass some sort of stimulus to where he can refund small business owners these funds that are paid out faster. They're even talking about a loan forgiveness program. So there's a whole bunch of stuff just kind of swirling around. Nothing's finalized. There's just a lot of hints, a lot of speculation, a lot of hope, but nothing has been finalized beyond the 100% tax credit. So I don't know if you heard, Heather, but as of today, our state was approved for the emergency disaster designation through the SBA. So small businesses can now, as of a few hours ago, start applying for disaster relief SBA loans. So definitely reach out to the SBDC and start, if you're seeing financial hardship on the horizon, start working with the SBDC and getting at least a loan in the works to help you get through this tough time.
Yes, thank you. Aithka is going to be on with us later today to do a video as well. Yay!
Oh, nice.
Exactly what they have going on, exactly how to stay in touch with them and be able to apply for some of these things, to kind of help make that process a little bit easier for people. So yes, we're very
Wonderful.
excited.
Yeah.
Question for you. What if I, as an employer, one of the things I always say is you can't get blood out of a turnip, right? So maybe I am already living paycheck to paycheck as a business owner, so to speak. And, my revenue really is what makes it whether I can pay an employee or not. What happens if I don't have the funds to do this? The tax break is not, and not till the end of the year. What if I can't sustain that payroll? Am I expected as a business owner to go take out a loan, or, assuming that even loans will be processed during this time? Or does it mention anything about, am I going to be arrested, or is there any, what's going to happen? There's going to be, real life, some of my clients don't have the money to keep paying somebody if they don't have any income coming in. So what does that look like? Does it address that at all?
The bill does not. The bill does not address that, and that's actually some of the questions we have out to some attorneys that we know. We're getting our feelers and trying to wrap our head around that. It does not state what options an employer has. But my recommendation, as much as I hate making this recommendation, Heather, we're forced in hard times, and if you can't pay your employees and you see that coming down the horizon and you don't have work for them, or you're not pulling in the revenue that you need to sustain yourself, it's time to start considering layoffs. And there's different kinds of layoffs, and a lot of people don't realize this. So first you have your standard layoff where that position is eliminated and you lay them off and you do not expect them to come back, and you expect them to go find another job. Likely they will apply for unemployment. They'll be expected to register with the local workforce center, and they will be expected, as a provision of receiving unemployment, that they will have to start a job search and make job contacts every single week, I believe it is. But in addition to that, you can also do a job attached layoff, which means this is a short-term layoff. We're just going through a little bit of a bump. We're going to temporarily lay you off up to about 16 weeks. And during that job attached layoff, what can happen is, as they're pulling unemployment, they are not required to go and look for another job, because they know that they'll eventually be coming back to you to work. So this is a really great option as far as what to do in that tough time. You can also do work share programs. So maybe you've got a little bit of business trickling in, but not enough to substantiate a full-time position. And so you want to move someone down to part-time. What you can do is a work share program. And it's a great alternative to a full-on layoff. And you can just reduce their hours, and they can still file for unemployment and make up the difference between that full-time and that part-time. Well, not the full difference, but at least some of that difference between that cut in hours or that cut in pay. So there are a few different options, and you can look at this and say, okay, what's best for my business? So maybe even you've got a little bit of work trickling in, and you start with the work share program so they can start pulling in unemployment, but things get worse. So you do a job attached layoff, or you have to close your doors and do a permanent layoff. But there are options, so make sure you do know your options available to you. It's really, right now, I mean, we're in pretty tough times and we have to make tough decisions. And as much as any of us hate this, a layoff is a great way to keep your business in play, keep it a little bit healthier, keep your employees, allow them to have the opportunity to keep money coming in through unemployment options, and hopefully find a path forward through all of this.
Great. That's great information. Thank you for sharing that. So if I were to lay somebody off, then the acts don't apply at that point. Is that correct? Once I've laid them off, they've applied for unemployment. Am I then not required to continue to pay per the act? Does that relieve me immediately of my obligation? Should I keep paying them until unemployment's been accepted? Does it state in there anything, any guidance, or no? Okay.
Nope, we have zero guidance on that. I hate to say this, but the act, the federal act, does not go into effect for another 14 days. If you're looking at layoffs, I recommend that you do it before the act goes into effect,
Yeah.
just to be on the safe side. Which stinks, right? I mean, but looking at the way that this act is written, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, the way that it's written, it doesn't address this, and it doesn't provide any type of protection for employers. So if you see that you need to lay off and you're trying to hold off, you might want to consider it sooner than later.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is what we're going to be faced with, because we know
I
that
predict in the next 14 days, our unemployment rates are going to skyrocket.
absolutely. But better to have a company that's healthy coming out, and be able to make it out of this than to have to shut the doors completely. So again,
Yep.
thank you so much. All great information. The last piece I wanted to touch on is, well, now we've all been thrown into this. A lot of us didn't have a plan in place. What type of things should we be making sure are in place now so that if anything happens in the future, we're a little bit more prepared than we were now?
Right? Disaster relief plans are a great way to plan. I think this is an unprecedented event. And even if you have a disaster plan in place right now, it doesn't have any plan associated to any type of virus or biological interruption to our economics right now. This is something we could have never really predicted, and it's not within most disaster plans. But going forward, I suspect that this will be integrated into a lot of disaster plans. And so build out a disaster plan. Of course, you know, you've got your standard natural disasters that are accounted for, and that's easy, right? But this one, we're really going to be taking a lot of notes and seeing what we can plan for in the event that this ever happens again.
Is
And
that
when you write your
something?
disaster plan,
Oh, sorry.
hmm?
Is that
Oh,
something that you offer with HR branches when you're working with your clients?
absolutely. We've written a number of disaster plans for our clients. Unfortunately, it didn't account for these, but they will going forward.
I assume that most disaster plans do have at least foundation to it where even if it's something we didn't predict like this, there's enough written in there that at least we are ready to move forward and, you know, get people to work remotely, have all that set up, or, you know, secure our locations. And, you know, some of the things that you had talked about in your video with 1 million cups on Wednesday, you know, stuff like making sure you inventory your stuff, you lock up as securely as possible, you remove
Yeah.
high data files, that kind of stuff. I'm assuming that's all addressed in a disaster plan anyway.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Absolutely. You're right. And, you know, disaster plans, they do account for remote working. They do account for the files, for the general stuff. So, yeah, I guess as I'm thinking this through, Heather, you bring up a really good point. I think the big thing is more of when it comes to the sick time and understanding the employee absence component. Usually with disasters, you do have that employee absence component, but your goal is to get them back and working as quickly as possible. Um, with this, we don't have that luxury, especially when we're dealing with the health of our employee base. So I think that's the big factor that you have to account for in these disaster plans.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for all this great information. I hope I asked the questions that are on the mind of most of my clients. However, if somebody would like to reach out to you to find out more information, please tell us how to reach you and exactly what that looks like.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you have any questions, I want to let you know first, reach out to us. Don't worry about money. We don't want money to be a barrier to us assisting you. So, we are offering any small business owner one free hour of pure consultation where we sit down with you and we help you make a plan for the situation that you're in now related to the COVID-19 crisis that we're in. We will help in any way possible. So please reach out to us and schedule a free consultation at hrbranches.com, or you can give us a call 719-244-9640. Again, 719-244-9640. And we're here to help. We just want to make sure that we're able to give small business owners peace of mind, that at least a little peace of mind that they need right now.
And that is exactly what I love about you. You have such an amazing heart and you give so much back to this community, and you're just an amazing person to know, amazing resource. I can't thank you enough for your time today and for everything. and being a part of this. I'm sure my clients and friends or all the other business owners are thankful as well. So again, thank you so much. And I really encourage all of you guys to reach out to her directly. She has just great information, and really it's just a good peace of mind to be able to talk to you and go through even my own situation and be able to walk away with the knowledge I need to be able to move forward. So thank you again for everything.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for helping me spread the word, Heather. You're just an amazing light in this business community, and taking the time to put these videos together to help the community stay abreast of all of these ever-changing this ever-changing landscape right now is just instrumental. And the more we can spread the word and the more we can help people, the better off our community will be.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about, us coming out even stronger as a community. So again, please
Exactly.
reach out to Reanna and also get on her mailing list, because they are Johnny on the spot about updating us as things progress. So I appreciate that. I get emails immediately that tell me that you guys have looked at what's been passed and what's going on and how that affects me. And that's really, really helpful to me, because the last thing I want to do is stay on Facebook and go crazy reading this stuff over and over again. So,
Right.
so I appreciate that. And you guys should all get in contact and get on her mailing list, email mailing list, because amazing information that you're giving. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate your time. And I'm going to go ahead and shut this down.
Bye.
Bye bye.